Hello and welcome to ChinnyVision, where it's the summer Q&A. Yes, it may not look like it, but apparently it is summer. I am just north of ChinnyVision Rock because the tide's a little bit further out. The rock I usually use for these things is behind the camera, although the tide's coming in, so I may have to hide up there at some stage. So lots of you have sent in questions I'm going to try and answer. So let's get straight to it. Question from Juan. The membrane of my 464 seems to be failing. Any ideas? I can't find new or old stock for the 464. Any chance for CPC maintenance episode? And by the way, it's a little bit windy today because the weather always deteriorates when I do these things. So if there's noise on the microphone, I apologise. So Juan, and I apologise if I got the pronunciation wrong then. Membranes for the 464. The best place to hang out is the Amstrad CPC Wiki forum, run by Greiser, and people like Novabug post there as well, and I try and post there as much as I can. Pop in there, join the community, take part. Sometimes there's small production runs of things like 464 membranes, so if anyone knows if this stuff is going on, it's those guys. Sell My Retro is also good for membranes and things as well, isn't it? Also, remember, you can, I don't know if people have done it with the Amstrad, but people have done it with Atari 8-bits. You can get that conductive paint that repairs car windscreen defroster things, and if there's a kind of bad contact on a membrane, certainly with the Ataris, you can repair it with that. So worth having a look. People sometimes say to me, should I clean my membrane on an Amstrad? And I say, if your Amstrad's working fine, don't touch it, because the problems will begin when you undo the box, so leave it alone. So yeah, CPC Wiki forum for all CPC things. They're wonderful people. Do check them out. Question from Novabug. Out of the three common 8-bit microcomputers, which is the better machine technically in your opinion? This is a loaded question, isn't it? Spectrum, Commodore or Amstrad? Whichever way I say, I'm going to end up in trouble with someone, and people will be expecting me to say CPC, but the question is, which is the better machine technically in your opinion? The thing is, and everyone's going to be really upset, I'm going to say the Commodore 64. Yeah, because it's got those custom chips. Ignore the CPC Plus, that came out years later. We're saying the original Spectrum, the original Commodore 64 and the original Amstrad CPC. Whatever you think of Commodore, whatever you think of the build quality of the machines and the colours and all the rest of it, the fact is the C64 has got those custom chips. So, you know, and made by Moss, who Commodore acquired, and they did a really good job on those, and they give it hardware sprites and all sorts. So yeah, that's a really good thing to have. So yeah, I'm unpopular, but I'm going to say Commodore 64. Question from Blue Tinted Left Back. Have you decided against a broadcast because you felt it too obscure or esoteric? Well, not really. I'm going to wander over here and get my coffee while I'm doing this, so you can't see this, but I'm wandering over behind the rock here. Commodore 60 esoteric. Well, the thing is, I tend to kind of do stuff and then go, oh, actually, it turned out to be popular. The personal computer news videos tended to be quite popular. I'm going to be doing more of those. I thought no one would watch them, especially how long they were, but people did. Sorry, just sipping my coffee before it gets cold. And yeah, I mean, if I feel a video is a bit too esoteric or off the ball on a Friday, I will bung out another game video in the week on a Tuesday night usually. That's usually a good indication that I'm kind of a little bit unsure of what the video I put out on a Friday. So yeah, but generally speaking, no, I'm not really too bothered about if stuff's too esoteric. That's what ChinnyVision's there for, really. So yeah, I just keep on doing what I'm doing. If people like it, cool. Next question. Load this up on my phone. It's Blue Tinted Left Back as well. Do you prefer creating the mega reviews, Afterburner, Finish, Freddy's Big Top of Fun, that straddle generations, or the more 8-bit focused games, such as How to Skelter and Chase HQ? Well, I did have 16-bit versions on How to Skelter and Chase HQ. Mega reviews are great. The more formats, the merrier. The thing is, they take time. They really do take time. I've got to do smaller videos because I do a video every week apart from August and Christmas. So really, sometimes I work on those videos for weeks and I'm producing several videos at once, so I can get a little thing out like World Grand Prix on the Sega Master System that takes, you know, you play that game for an hour or so. You record it all and you do the review and all the rest of it, and it doesn't take too long. Whereas if you're starting to do things like, I've got Power Drift on at the moment, and I've done most of it, but then my Amiga loaded up, and on my A1200 it didn't have any of the driver sprites in it, so I loaded up my A600 and found the membrane's gone, so I can't actually start the game. That's what happens with Mega reviews. They kind of get pretty much done and they fall over with something like the MSX version, or in this case the Amiga version, at the last minute. Hellfire 64, Rob down in Australia, says, in an ideal world, and do check out his channel by the way, in an ideal world, ignoring how overpriced some titles have got, what's that one game you would love to have a physical copy of that you don't currently own? Yeah, there's a few. I suppose I'd like if you can have a complete collection, saying have something like the Rainbird games, like Star. I saw someone bought Starglider the other day. I thought, oh, it'd be nice to have a nice pristine copy of Starglider. I don't have any burning kind of desires for really expensive games, so it's a difficult one, that. Nothing really burning. I say Starglider, perhaps some Japanese MSX games, or Mega Drive game. Mega Drive games are always good, of course. Novabug says, if you were a programmer back in the day, which arcade port would you like to have to go at programming? Well, they've all been kind of done, haven't they? All the big games. Flicky for the 8-bits would be nice. That's on the MSX. It'd be nice to have Flicky on the Amstrad Spectrum and Commodore. The machines are perfectly capable of doing it. The Amstrad might end up being... Does it scroll or does it flick? I can't remember. If the Amstrad version wouldn't be able to scroll, the scrolling would be really bad. But yeah, I'd say Flicky. Futurist 8-bit says, why does the Amstrad CPC 464 have a single Billy Mates joystick port? I think I've just answered that one. Well, firstly, thanks to the Futurist 8-bit for supporting the channel so much this year, because he really, really has been around his house a few months ago and just kind of ends up walking away completely unexpectedly with a load of prizes, most of which are for Patreon supporters, but some of which will be going out on the main channel. So, why does the 464 only have a single joystick port? Well, basically, if you think back at that time, we think of double joystick ports, two joystick ports being standard now, but if you think back, well, the Amstrad had one, BBC had one non-standard, Spectrum didn't have any until Amstrad got their hands on it. The VIC-20 has one. One was standard, one was completely normal. Two was something you had on dedicated games machines. So, it's got a standard Atari joystick port with a fiddly bob thing for auto fire, because it's not quite compatible with everything else. But, it's just because Amstrad went, well, and here's one joystick port. I don't think there was any kind of, we're not going to put two in. I think it was, we put one in. The competitors don't have, some of them don't only have one. Some of them have two. We'll put one in. I don't think there's anything more to it than that. Microman, and again, check his channel out, says, what's the most challenging part of doing ChinnyVision, and how long do you spend on each episode? And also, how do you get your voiceover so clear? Apart from today when I'm on a beach and it's windy, and you're getting a lot of wind noise on this microphone. The most challenging part of doing ChinnyVision is just getting all the versions working. It can be a battle sometimes, as I mentioned before. You do all the versions and the MSX version doesn't work. We've got to get the PC out to do the PC version, because it's all original hardware. So I have to go, if I want the PC out, I've got to go into the spare room at home, get the Amstrad PC out of its box, bring it down, wire it up, because it's got a complicated wiring arrangement for capture, because it doesn't have a standard SCART output. It's basically VGA, and I've got to convert that to something. I've got to capture. I probably have to write floppy disks for it, or will have to. So it takes a long time, and when everything's working, it's brilliant. When things don't work, it becomes quite hard work. And how do you get your voiceover so clear? Just good recording equipment and good microphones. Really, I've just upgraded the microphones at home. I'm out here. I've got the wrong microphone to be on a beach with, because I should have a shotgun microphone with a dead cat on it. But I've got a Rode M3 with a standard kind of foam thing on it, which is not good enough to stop the wind. So yeah, I mean, it's just a question of just getting the right mics and the right acoustics, really. Blog Eyes Pal says, I know you Mr. Amstrad, but how about some C64 coverage of original games? I mean, if people send them to me, will alert them to me, yeah, cool, I'll do it. Futures 8-Bit sent me a copy of Pilot Attacks, which the review has been done for. I'll probably put that out by the time you've seen this. Get me the games, I'll review them. That's the problem, is trying to keep across everything when I've got a job and, you know, home life and everything, and it's just a question of trying to keep across stuff. Going down my list, Ross Taylor, what's your guilty pleasure in gaming? A game that you know is rubbish but you still play and enjoy it and holds a special place in your heart. Mine is Rise of the Robots. Some of those Amsoft games, Oh Mummy and things like that, yeah, they're rubbish, but they're still quite good. And you know, some of those early games that you may enjoy for fond memories, but are probably a bit rubbish. Especially some of the arcade versions. Why would you possibly want to play Shaolin's Road on an 8-bit when you can play the arcade version? But the 8-bit versions, the Amstrad version, I quite like. So things like Akari Warriors as well. I mean, a lot of them are guilty pleasures, because you can just go and play MAME if you want to play these games. But yeah, so next question is Novabug. What's your favourite old school joystick and why? Mine was the Quickshot Turbo 2. I like the Zip Stick. I like the Power Play Cruiser, of which I have 2. I also like these. I've got these Cheetah joypads. They're funny things called Cheetah Bollocks, I think they're called. And they're a bit weird and a bit weird to hold, but actually they're really good. So I do like those. Zoe Kirk Robertson says, do you feel all the schools not using the same type of computer and thus failing to fully standardise a single programming language for education was a good or bad thing? Well, the thing was, back in the day, most schools did have BBC Micros, but also they had Amstrad CPCs and they had RM machines and all sorts of things. And yeah, I mean, the thing was, the standard of computer teaching back in the 80s was terrible. The computer teachers knew nothing at all. Nothing. You know, the kids knew more than they did. And, you know, it's kind of, yeah, I mean, we had lots of fun, but we didn't learn that much, I guess. I mean, a secondary school, that we weren't supposed to be, originally they had Amstrad CPCs in our computer suite, and then they did a deal with a company called Opus Technology, and they made a Opus Technology Centre full of Opus 286 PCs, and we didn't get to go on those until we were about like 15 or so, because it's complete madness. They didn't know what they were doing. It was you just kind of messed around on the computer doing what you wanted. No one really taught you anything. So yeah, I mean, it's all a bit mad, really. And by the way, I'm changing the view for this. I'm going to go get some other nice scenic shots during this. So if you see the camera moving, that's because I've gone to get some different shots throughout the day. But because people say to me, oh, you know, we do like seeing the kind of scenery. So I do try to get a bit of variation in. Novabug, I know. So Blue Tinted Left Back. Have you rethought any long-held opinions about a system or game since you've started the channel? BBC Micro. I do like it a lot more now. I've actually played some good games on the system, because I played an awful lot of rubbish and we were forced to use them at primary school. Teachers didn't know what they were doing, didn't have any decent software. It was all a bit rubbish. So yeah, I do like the BBC Micro. I do think a lot of the arcade conversions on it are absolutely terrible. You've got to dig around and find good BBC Micro games, because they are there. Question from the Novabug. Should Amstrad have followed Atari or Commodore into the 16-bit market, or bailed out when they did? Amstrad are on record at the time of knowing exactly where the market was going, which was PCs. And the profit was in PCs. They knew it from the moment they got the 1512 and 1640 out there. All the effort went into PCs. They were watching America. They were watching Japan. They knew exactly what was going on. They tried to put out gaming PCs, and they were just too ahead of the curve. I mean, literally, you can go into New Computer Express editions of that, and you can see Amstrad launching PCs with a bundle of games, but it's too far ahead of the game. Far too ahead of the game. They probably should have done an interim 16-bit machine, but the money they made on the PCs for business compared to what they made on the CPC and, you know, the Spectrum was just a cash cow, really. Yeah, they probably should have done, but you know, it's that's life. At the end of the day, of all the companies left standing, Commodore went bust. Atari was zombie Atari. It's not really Atari, is it? Atari went bust several times over. Amstrad were the only company left standing, and Alan Sugar sold it at a time of his own choosing. So, you know, you can't really criticise Amstrad, really, because, you know, of all those companies that actually did survive. So, as usual, the tide is actually coming in, and I'm probably going to have to move, but I'll stay here as long as I can until I can't get off this rock. Question from the late Grotbags. Why don't you tell the boys and girls why Amstrad swapped from a 6502 to a Z80 part way through designing the 464? Amstrad spec'd out the CPC, had some designers who basically went AWOL. They vanished. One of them was apparently an officially missing person. They officially listed as missing, apparently. And when Roland Perry took over the project, he went around trying to find a basic for this new machine and was going to use the parts Amstrad had already purchased. And what happened was he went to Locomotive Software and he needed a basic in a really short amount of time. They said, we can't do a 6502 basic in that amount of time. But we happen to have a Z80 basic that we could adapt for you, and we can do it in the time frame. So Roland Perry went back to Amstrad and they went, yeah, we'll change to a Z80, that's no problem. And they just did a swap on the market, sold their parts and got Z80s in. And Amstrad were quite flexible like that during the development of the CPC, because they did, if the designer wanted to change something, they didn't go, no, we've got these chips, you can't do anything. They managed to sell them back onto the market and got the chips in that people wanted. Alan Sugar has this reputation for being incredibly inflexible, and he really, really isn't. Because with the CPC, he was very flexible. Even the things like he didn't want any custom chips inside it, no gate arrays because of all the problems Acorn were having with the Electron, and they talked him into it, and they did have a gate array. So, you know, it really is just a question of flexibility and deciding to, you know, do what was required. My question from Microman: Do you own any games you consider to be quite rare? Got some. Not really anything super rare. Got some Japanese Mega Drive stuff. Things like New Zealand Story and Rainbow Islands. They're not rare. You can get them. You know, it's just one of those things. I just wanted to own those particular games. A few MSX bits and pieces. Nothing particularly exciting or rare, I'm afraid. I don't really go in for kind of expensive games. I'd rather have a quantity rather than quality. Last question is from Royal Powerfire 64. Out of all the games that were previewed or even reviewed but failed to make it to the shelves at any of the micros, which will be the one you'd love to see unearthed, recovered and made available for folks to play? Well, there's always Street Fighter 2 on the Amstrad CPC. How far into development did that get? Nobody knows. US Gold said that it was being developed for ages and ages and ages, and then nothing at all happened. So, you know, it's one of those things, really. It's difficult with those games, because did they actually exist? Didn't they exist? And you know, we found out things like that version of it's Turbo Outrun. It turned out that colour version previewed in your Sinclair turned out to be actually in the code of the game. So that was all unearthed, and that was something I wanted to see for years and years and years, if it actually did exist. I can't think of many other games really that didn't get released. We've got Star Fox 2 out now. You can get hold of that for the SNES. Again, that's one of those games that everyone wanted to see, and now you can play it. And now you can buy one of these particularly SNES in a box things that emulates the SNES. You can buy one of those, and you know, you can get one of those and play that game. So yeah, I can't think of anything immediately that comes to mind that's actually not been unearthed apart from Street Fighter 2 on the CPC. So that's about it from this question and answer session on a beach in Cornwall. This is the last regular Friday ChinnyVision until the start of September, just to give me a break to produce new stuff for the channel to keep me going throughout the run through to Christmas. There will be occasional videos on the channel though, so keep an eye out throughout August, because there may be a couple of bonus videos in the month, but regular Friday videos return in September. Thank you for your support. Thank you to the Patreon supporters who buy me a coffee, enable me to buy things for the channel and various bits and pieces. Have a fantastic summer. As I say, a couple of videos in August, but regular Friday videos return in September.